Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me this week. Oh, everybody, we are in for a good time. There's going to be a lot of laughing, there's going to be a lot of giggling for sure, because Sheila and I don't ever do anything without there being a lot of laughter and just a lot of we think we're pretty funny, but you all might not agree, but we think we're pretty funny. So super happy to have everybody here. If you are listening on the podcast, welcome. As always, I am live in the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community on Facebook. If you are not a member, you are missing out. So you need to come and you need to visit us. You need to see us. You need to become a part of our amazing community. So you want to go to www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough. And again, become a part of the community. I think it's the community on Facebook when it comes to support, encouragement, motivation, and just people really building each other up and supporting each other through managing emotional eating as well as losing weight. You will notice that I do not ever say the word diet, because in my group, we do not diet. We do not diet in the Breakthrough community. We lose weight, and we do it in a sane way that makes you feel amazing about yourself, as well as amazing about yourself. Whether you're losing weight or not, you're going to feel amazing about yourself. So I promise you that. So if you are not a member, you definitely want to come and join us. As I always do, we've got a shout out for this week. And I am going to shout out Denise Z. Denise Z, you know who you are, and all of you in the group know who Denise is. Denise puts up those very, very attractive, big engagement posts. I'm sometimes jealous of her really nice backgrounds that she has on her engagement posts. I'm like, how does she do that? I don't understand. I'm not all that technical. So that's one of the things I'm always like, gosh, how does she do that? But Denise is always, always, always there to answer people's questions, build people up, post, encourage, support, and just be an all-around cheerleader. But the other piece is she knows her stuff. That's the thing that I think is so cool, is she is walking the walk, and she's talking the talk, walking the walk. She's doing everything. What she talks about, she's doing. She's losing weight. She's helping other people. She's feeling good about herself. So Denise, thank you so much for everything that you bring to the group. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. Love having you. You are so vitally important to the group, to me, and just keep it up and keep on your path. I know that it's really helping you to be able to be there for other people. So again, stay strong and keep doing what you're doing, because I just love it. So again, thank you so much for your contribution to the community. All right, y'all put your seatbelts on. We're going to be having some fun. All right, so you all know I talk all the time about getting help and being there and getting help, getting coaching. My deliveries on my lives are meant to allow you to learn some information and then be able to actually practice it in your life and figure out what's going on. And we've talked a lot about our thoughts and how our thoughts turn into our feelings, and our feelings then drive our actions, and our actions are what get us our results. And so we really always get back to, what are you thinking? What are the thoughts that you have in your head? And that's what we really need to address. And so I figured it was time that you all met the person who keeps me sane and keeps me functioning, and we have a really good time too. So this is our guest today on the podcast is my life coach, Sheila Morgan of Sheila Morgan. Are we going with Sheila Morgan Coaching? Are we still calling
Morgan Coaching? Yeah.
Sheila Morgan Coaching. Okay, so we're still going by that. That's until any other decision is made. That's what we're calling it. Sheila is out of Oregon, and I'm going to let her explain who she is, who she works with, how she got there. I'll just give you a little bit of a background about how the two of us met. We met in life coach school. We went to the life coach school, and I remember the first day in class, and I don't even think I've ever told you this, but I remember.
We're not telling secrets now, are we?
You go into life coach school, and you have to get coached. So that's what we did. You spend 6 months not only learning to coach other people, but you get coached. And I remember sitting in class, and we had a group of, I think 10, there were 10 of us in our group, and I remember, you kind of check everybody out. We're all on Zoom and you're checking everybody out, and I remember looking at Sheila, and then she started talking, and I was like, oh, like she already knows, like she knows her stuff. Like I need to connect with her because I need to learn from her. And I don't you were not the first person I coached with, but we soon became our go-to's. And so we then started doing our practice coaching, and then we ended up actually deciding to coach each other. And so we actually we see each other a lot during the week. We see each other 3 times a week, and not always all of that is coaching, but also because we just have fun. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to Sheila. So Sheila, if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little background, who you work with, and how you came to be the fabulous life coach that you are.
Oh, wow. Absolutely. Thank you. So first of all, I wanted to tell everybody that you are my life coach as well. And I absolutely love and adore you. And you have pulled my ass out of my shit store multiple times. Oh, can I cuss on your podcast?
Well, I guess we'll be changing the explicit marks on this podcast. So, okay.
All right, I'll turn it down. Yeah. So, in my group, it's like, all words are welcome. So, I guess not all of them. We don't allow the harassment. So I just want to let you know, Kristen, that my husband loves you too, and he hasn't even met you. It's just how I talk about you to him, right? That how he feels like. And I'll say, I'm going to go talk to Kristen, and he'll give me the little heart.
Oh, I love Joe.
So that's really great. And he knows that I totally come to you when I'm mad at him. So
there you go.
So how I became a life coach is actually a long story. So I'm going to give you the highlights. And let's see here. I was married for 14 years, and not to Joe, my current husband, but around year 12, I filed for divorce the first time, and I moved out. After about 2 months, I got so scared, like my fears and doubts took over. I moved back in. 2 years later, I filed for divorce again. And after a whole lot of drama and anger and fighting, I managed to stay divorced. But I went into this spiral of you could call it self-abuse. It was partying and drinking and in and out of relationships. And when one night I was sitting on the roof of my RV. I was living in an RV for 4 years in the middle of a rainstorm, and I was soaking wet and cold, and I was trying to keep this tarp from flying away. I was putting apples on the tarp as weights because I didn't have anything else to hold the tarp. And I just remember feeling so alone and fat and weak and just worthless. And I was like, I don't want this kind of a life. It was miserable. So I went on this personal growth crusade. I lost weight. I moved. I changed jobs. I changed partners. I read books. I did all the things. But every time I started making change and growing, that fear and the doubt would show up again. And so I would quit whatever I was doing. And in all of these escapades, I discovered life coaching. And I thought, oh, well, that sounds easy. I could do that. Giving people advice, I could do that. And I thought, all right. So I signed up, and then before the training even started, I got scared again. The fear and the doubt showed up again. I bailed out. I got my money back. And that had just become my life. This new inspiration would come up, and then fear and doubt would come up, and then I'd bail out, and then I'd beat myself up, and then I'd just go again until the next time I got inspired. And the thing is that every time I thought I was starting over from scratch, I actually wasn't. And every time I picked myself up, I was a little stronger, a little smarter, and a little more capable. And what I know now looking back is that I wasn't failing, I was learning. And so a few years later, I signed up for coach certification again, and the fear and the doubt showed up again, like it always did. But this time I kept on. I actually started the school, and I learned some tools. I got some support. I kept at it. And this is before I met you, Kristen. In 2019, I was certified by the Coach Training Alliance. And then I just kept at it. I had clients. And in 2020, I earned the more advanced certification through the Life Coach School. And I've been a professional coach for 2.5 years now. And who I help are the big-hearted people who want big lives, but they let people pleasing get in the way. I realized my crippling moments in my life when fear and doubt showed up, it was always after some kind of criticism. And I was always letting other people's opinions keep me down.
So tell me, like, what does, or can you explain to our community and those people on the podcast, what does that oftentimes look like for people? Like, what are the behaviors oftentimes that people, because you were talking about what your behaviors were. So what are the things that people, if they're not sure, if they're like, I'm not sure if I'm a people pleaser or not, what would that look like?
Well, a lot of people say, well, yeah, I'm a people pleaser, but that's really okay because I just like people to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Wanting people to be happy, that's totally great. But if you're making yourself miserable or you're giving up on your own goals and your own dreams in order to try to keep somebody happy, that's people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're finding yourself like in an uncomfortable situation and you don't want to speak up, this happens a lot to women. Like some guy will put their arm around us and we don't say anything. We just kind of like pull away a little bit. But we don't say anything because we don't want to offend or upset them. And so instead, we are the offended, upset person. If we put other people's feelings and opinions above our own, and even in the treatment of ourselves.
Yeah. So tell why. And how long did it take you to figure out that these were the people who you wanted to work with? Like, what did you have to go through to kind of figure out, like, these are my peeps. These are my homies. Like, everybody here who's watching and listening, y'all are my peeps. We all have that. So what do you think, like, what was the thing that kind of drives you to want to help people with this?
Yeah, I saw myself in them. And I saw everything that I went through after my divorce, even just being in the marriage for so long and not getting out of it was because I was afraid of what people would say about me or think about me. And I just want to help other women to be able to have their own back and to be able to know, like, that marriage that I was in, it was rough. It was scary. I mean, I wasn't physically abused, but it wasn't a happy marriage. And I want to help other women have the ability to get out of those situations and to be able to create something that they want, like staying in a job for too long or staying in a relationship for too long, or like the opposite, like going into relationships thinking that's going to make you feel better, but it's not the relationship. It's how you are in the relationship and how you think about yourself. And trying to fix it by changing your circumstances all the time and trying to change what's going on around you. Like, I was going from job to job, person to person, trying to find the next great thing. And then as soon as things got hard, I'd give up. And a lot of it was because I was afraid of how people would think and how I was showing up. As soon as I started doing well in something is kind of when I would quit. Like, like people are starting to notice me. They'll say nice things to me. And like, time to run.
Yeah. What do you think it looks like for those of us who are emotional eaters? What do you think, how does the people pleasing stop or prevent emotional eaters or people who need to lose weight? How does it prevent them from moving forward? What do the people, the people who are listening, what do they need to be looking for? What should they be seeing? What should they be signals?
Yeah, so that's something that my husband and I had to work through too, is, if he goes out of his way to buy some yummy food and bring home, how rude of me to not eat it. Right? So I have to eat it because or, you go visit somebody and they've made you this nice meal, but your protocol is you're going to have salad and a protein and you're not going to have a ginormous bowl of pasta and bread and all of this that somebody's prepared for you. And it's having like that plan in your mind and not being afraid to tell people ahead of time. I have friends that are like, oh, do you have any diet restrictions? And a lot of people ask that now because of the gluten thing and all that. But before that, we would be like, oh, it's embarrassing to ask the waiter to adjust our food, or it's
Right.
embarrassing to tell my friend that I can't eat pizza or whatever it is. And again, it's just putting someone else's feelings ahead of your own. And like the people pleasers out there are like, well, we're supposed to put other people's feelings ahead of our own. It's like this trap, right? Like
Right.
if you do that, you're a bad person.
Right.
And
Right.
that's just not true. That's just the BS that we've been taught.
Exactly. And so I'm going to ask for those people who are watching, and you know who you are, those people who are watching, if what Sheila said about not standing by your meal plan because somebody else wants to go out to dinner or somebody else wants to change their minds about what's going to be on the menu for dinner, and you go along with it and you put your, you've done that before, where you put yourself second and the other person is like, oh, sure, it's okay, I can just change my meal plan. If you've done that, I want you to write meal plan in the comments. So just write meal plan in the comments. I've done it myself numerous times, and
Yeah.
so it's just one of those things where we just have to kind of like, oh, okay, that's probably the most I think that for the way our program works, it's probably the most common way that the people pleasing comes out. Is like, well, I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want anybody to be uncomfortable, and I don't want to feel I don't want to I don't want to feel stupid. And I also the other piece is that I think sometimes we're afraid that if we say it, that there might be some they might not like it. They might not like it, and if they don't like what we're doing, if we say, yeah, I'm not gonna change. I need to eat this. You might get the backlash of, oh, which diet is this? Oh, okay, another diet that you're going on, and and then there's that sabotage. So I think y'all know that was a nice little tone of voice I gave. But that's
You've heard that before, apparently.
yeah. Apparently, I've heard that before. But it's just one of those things where it can happen, and it can happen with friends. It can happen with significant partners. I mean, it can happen any place.
From
So
well-meaning people too,
yeah,
right? People that
yeah.
really care about us are
hmm
just saying things, just not realizing the impact that it has.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what is it? What are three? What would people need to know if they feel like if they're like, okay, hi, I'm like the A gold star people pleaser. Like I've been doing this for a long time. I call myself a gold star emotional leader because I've been doing it all my life. So if you're a gold star people pleaser, what what does it like what how do you help them like from a practical standpoint, because we're all about like taking action and doing stuff. So if somebody is like, what would that look like, and what do I need to work on, and what would, like, if I worked with Sheila, what would that look like? So can you kind of tell, like, what do you do for people?
Well, one of the first things that I like, where I really need people to be in order to work with me, is that first they need to know that their dreams are possible.
Mm,
That they, regardless of what other people have said, like the whole thing, oh, what diet are you on this time? Right?
mm-hmm.
Like that is someone saying, honey, you're not going to get there.
Right.
Or you've been working on this for a long time and it hasn't happened. So no, it's possible to lose the weight. It's
Mm-hmm.
possible to leave your job, to get a new job, to start a business, to find a new partner. It's possible to leave the partner you're with.
Mm-hmm.
The life that you want to create is possible for you. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is like the first thing that people need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And then to know that once they are starting on that path, this is what I discovered in my life, is that the fear and the doubt are going to show up. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to question your protocol. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
question your plans, your dreams, whatever you're doing. Once you taken the step down the road, those doubts are going to come up. Like even like the idea of hiring a coach, like, oh, hiring a coach, that's going to help me. That's going to be great. And then you get on a call and you talk to the coach. It sounds really great. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then you hang up the phone. And then the next day, your brain's like, oh no, this
Mm-mm.
is a
Yeah.
bad idea. This is
Yeah, this
not
is
going to work.
bad. This is
Bad
gonna
idea.
this is gonna hurt. This is gonna leave a
And that
mark.
hurt. it might inconvenience somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to be a different person. I might have to show up differently.
Mm-hmm.
That always is going to happen. And that's just your brain telling
Mm-hmm.
you lies again.
Right.
And then know that there are tools and support available and that they don't have to do it alone. Like there's the coaching industry is huge. If Kristen and I can't help you, there's a coach out there that can.
Absolutely.
There's coaches for veterinarians. There's coaches for, I don't even know, like people who've adopted kids. There are niches for like everything. There's guys that coach other men. There's men that coach women. There's coaches that coach couples. I mean, like whatever you need, it's out there. So believing that what you want is possible, knowing that there's going to be fear and doubt about it, knowing that you can find the tools that are available and you don't have to do it by yourself. That is where I focus with people.
Right. Why? Because I know a lot of times people will say, oh, it's like, it's not the right time. It's just not the right time for me to figure this stuff out. Or they want to, but it's like, oh, maybe I'll do it like next month. Maybe it's like, oh, it's really, I don't know if I can afford that. It's, let me do it next month. Let me do it 2 months down the line. Why do people need to take these steps? Why do they need to figure out their stuff? Why do they need to figure that out?
Yeah. So it took me so long to get here. I just turned 52 and I look back at all of the years where I was doing it on my own, reading the books. And, that was before podcasts, right? Like, was YouTube even a thing back then? Like in the 90s?
We're so old, Sheila. I'm telling
you.
Old.
Like I was Googling things like how to lose weight, how to get in shape, how to look like, things like that, and trying to figure that kind of stuff out by myself. And but having somebody who believes in you before you believe in yourself, that's amazing. My biggest breakthroughs have come because I let somebody else support me and love me and just be there for me. And that's what a coach is. I don't know. I'm biased, right? But but I wouldn't be at this point if it wasn't for coaching. That's how I got where I am now. And you've heard this saying about when's the best time to plant a tree, like 20 years ago, right? Second best time today.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's also that whole thing of if we don't start doing something now, I wish I need to pull the quote, but it's the quote of fear, like change is scary, but what's scarier is looking back 5 years from now and being in the exact same spot that you're in and having the exact same problems and having the exact same conversation and complaining about the exact same thing. And that is what I think is that's where there's the piece of like, okay, if it's not now, then when is it going to be? And usually the answer is it should have been yesterday. And so it's really just looking at, okay, so if I want to move forward, I have to do that. I have to take that chance. And so for anyone out there, anyone who's listening, one of the scariest things for me about, and I worked with a life coach long before I became a coach, and it was what got me to want to become a coach. But it was the idea of, oh my gosh, I am going to be telling somebody stuff that like I haven't told anybody. Like nobody knows this about me. Sheila knows so much stuff about me that nobody knows. And yeah, she'd end up in a body bag somewhere. If we have a falling out, she'll never be seen. But it's just one of those things where I'm a firm believer, and I don't want to speak for you, but I think you feel the same way. It's like you have to just open yourself up. And we all, in this group, we are so about making those changes and being fearless and being brave and being okay with when we make mistakes, and failure is encouraged. We're not afraid of failure. We embrace failure. We know that failure, first attempt in learning, we all know that. We know that that's where we are. And so I just really encourage you to really, take what Sheila's saying and listen to that whole idea of like, allowing yourself and opening yourself up to receiving the help that's out there. And again, and I was just talking to somebody about the reason why, the reason why I started this group was because I didn't have anybody. And I felt so alone, and my whole I just wanted to make sure that other people didn't have to go through what I went through alone, waking up so many days feeling like I just couldn't get out of bed. I just couldn't function. And there were long periods of time like that for me. And I know you've had the same thing, the same thing with you. And so it's really, I think that's also another piece is I think it's important to work with somebody who has been where you've been. And I know that you and I have a lot of things. We have a lot of things in common, but that we didn't even know about. But that's what kind of that was what kind of connects us, and it really allows me to be able to be very, very open, with what's happening with me. Why there's always that piece of, I mean, that piece of like, why do we need to invest not only our time, but from a standpoint of taking care of ourselves? Why do we need to invest in ourselves?
That's such a good question. So, the story that I left out of my long story was the money that I got back from the not going to the original coach training.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I got that money, and I had paid that and put it on the credit card.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't tell anybody about that. And then I have this new credit card that now has the credit put back on it. Like I want to do something with it. And I almost bought a boat.
Ooh.
I almost bought a boat with it. But what I ended up doing is I bought a leadership training for myself. And that sounds like it was such an easy thing, but I already had put the money on that coach training and failed on it. So I was already in this place of, I can't do that anymore. I can't spend money on myself, quit on it. So I went to this thing to do a leadership training. I brought my husband with me, just to have somebody come with me. And in the course of seeing what they had to offer, I was ready to pay for him to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh man, he should totally do this. And they're like, well, what about you? And I'm like, oh no. I mean, I could not bring myself to spend the money on myself. And I was willing to spend it on my husband because I believed in him and I believed in his potential, and I wasn't seeing my own. And I argued for my inability to be successful in that program. And it took 3 hours and a lot of crying, a lot of arguing. And I finally bumped down $675 for that training. And to me, that was a huge thing because I did it in front of my husband, him fully knowing what I was doing. But when I signed up for that coach training previously, he was nowhere around. He was not part of that picture. But when I did this, it was like me telling somebody else I'm valuable. And having him like, heck yeah, you should sign up for this was huge. And then having paid the money into it, I was in. I was committed. And so I attended the event. I got what I got out of it. And then I spent a little bit more on a different event. And then I spent a little bit on a different event. And every time I've put money into something, I have gotten something back out of it. And what I've learned in all of this is that you are going to get out of it what you put into it. If you just pay the money, all right, coach, fix me. That doesn't work. You have to, the investment is the money and the time and your attention and your commitment. So there's a lot to put into it, and things are going to change. Your life is going to be different. Things are going to get up in the air. Things are going to get turned upside down. You can't remodel your house without tearing things apart. Right. So I think it's the tearing things apart that people get scared of.
Right. Because they're afraid of what they're going to find. That there might be things there that they don't think. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
There's going to be things that are going to be that might make them uncomfortable, and for sure will make other people uncomfortable.
Heck yeah.
So, yeah, no, I definitely see that. So what tell us about your Facebook group. So Sheila has a Facebook group and it is hopping and happening. So
Yeah, it is.
tell us a little bit about your Facebook group.
Okay, so my group is called the People Pleasers Revolution. And I help people who just, they love people,
Mm-hmm.
right? But they're hurting themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we are a group of people who have big dreams, big goals. We want to make an impact on the world. We want to help people, like how I wanted to be a coach and wanted to help people, but then you get scared and you run and you hide and people criticize and oh my gosh, it's hard to take. So this is the place where we work through that. We talk about boundaries, we
Mm-hmm.
talk about self-sabotaging, we talk about loving ourselves, all of those kinds of things. And it all starts with signing up for the group
Yeah.
and learning. Like the first thing you'll get is the 3 reasons that you people please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And so y'all, Sheila's like me. Like she just gives stuff. She like just gives stuff away. So you want to get into her group because she gives a lot of stuff away, and and it's all valuable. It's not just like, oh, I just just whatever. Like here, take this little PDF form. It's like she makes videos. She teaches, and she and I teach a lot of the same similar things. And so I think that there would be a huge benefit if you feel like, and again, hers is daily dealing with people pleasing. We sometimes do it, we do it a lot of the time, but she's kind of the go-to. She's like the OG of people pleasing. So if that's something that you feel like, oh God, I could probably learn some more information about that, definitely you want to jump over, and they can just search the People Pleasers Revolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can just
And
go
I'll
on Facebook and search people pleasing and you'll find me. I'm
yeah.
usually right at the top of the list there.
And I'll put the link in the comments of the comments of this thread. So I definitely would. I'm a member. Definitely want you all to make sure that you all are there and really taking in the information that, again, Sheila offers so many valuable, tips and tools and things that you can use to catch yourself and kind of be like, okay, who's coming first here? It certainly
Yeah.
isn't me. And I know that many of you have had, especially in relationships, and oftentimes they're not your significant relationships. A lot of times they're your familial relationships, like your family of origin relationships. And, it's a sister, it's a brother, it's mom, it's dad, it's those kinds of relationships that people kind of are challenged by. And a lot of times those relationships get kind of mucked up because of our desire to make sure everybody's happy, nobody's upset, anything like that. So
Mhm.
Sheila, last words, anything, like what would be something if for all of my people pleasers, what is something that they could start doing or start, kind of start looking at, something that they could do right away to kind of make themselves either more aware or just start to move in the right direction?
Well, I've heard you talk about this a lot and like listening to your self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are you talking to yourself? What are you saying? Would you say those things to someone you love?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not something that you'd say to someone that you love, stop believing it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. That's just your brain making stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
And as many times as I've even heard that myself, until it started clicking, like, oh yeah, that's just my brain making stuff up. And one of the ways that you can get really clear on that is doing the journaling. I know that Kristen has all of you doing daily planning and journaling and gratitude, all of that stuff. Like, take a look. And if you find yourself believing one of the things, a negative thing that you're telling yourself, really question that. Is it true? Is it
Mm-hmm.
really true? Would someone else say that about me? Would I say that about someone else? Really question it.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I think and it's so true. It's really just becoming more aware more than anything else. It's just an awareness of like, why am I doing that? What is and a lot of times I think it's the reasoning. We're not even sure what the reason is behind it. It's more about, it's just doing it. And sometimes it's just an unconscious thing. We're just so used to doing it. We're so used to putting everybody else
Oh my
first.
gosh, yeah.
You have to
If
just
you're
catch that.
unconsciously doing it and you can't even figure out what it is you're thinking, just if you're feeling bad,
Yeah.
There's a negative thought in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I hope for everyone on the and I know for everyone on the podcast, for everyone in the group, I hope this was really, really helpful, and you were able to kind of see the things that, again, recognize what people pleasing looks like, what what the kind of the messages behind it, and then really looking at how we can become more aware. What I loved that you said was it's really about valuing yourself, whatever that looks like. It's about valuing yourself and making sure that you are taking care of yourself, that you're giving yourself whatever it is that you need, and that you know that you're worthy of whatever's happening. You're worthy, you're valuable, and you matter, and you don't, nobody else has to come ahead of you. That you just, who you are as a person is enough. So, all right, well, thank you so much, Miss Sheila. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kristen. I
Thank you.
love you.
Love you, friend. So for those people on the podcast, again, remember, it's a love fest here at the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community. So come and join us. And for those people in the group, stick around because we'll be doing a little Q&A. If you have a question right now, if you have a question for Sheila, anything about how to handle certain relationships, certain how you should handle certain relationships, whether you should give in to other people, or what you need to do to kind of make your way through when things get challenging. Especially, I think it's especially challenging with people who are in our families, because we don't have an option. There's really not an option to not be a part of things, but there's always an option. So we'll be doing a little Q&A in the group. So again, if you're on the podcast, thanks so much for joining us. And again, you want to be part of the group. So again, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all of you. If you were moved by this episode and you would like to drop me a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, please do. Honest feedback is always, I am always open and love that. So please go ahead and do that. That would be amazing. So again, thank you so much. And we will see you all next week. Sheila, thank you again. It was awesome. And we will see you next week. Bye, y'all.